These are the day's trades, a short and a long. Coming into the morning, I was leaning more slightly bearish than I was bullish, but I wasn't 100% confident in that bearish bias. We did have, looking on a 4 hour, market structure shift to the downside, but price was holding the bottom of this 4 hour for value gap, so that was giving me some hesitation looking for shorts. But looking on a 1 hour time frame, price has ran out all of its major PDRAs to the downside, and I was figuring this was just a little retracement. And looking at equilibrium of this dealing range, price did end up coming and touching equilibrium, and this is where I was looking for my first trade. So price had touched equilibrium of this dealing range, as well as consequent encroachment of this 2 hour order block. So there were some strong confluences to go short, and about right in here is where I went short, and I wanted to see the internal sell side get taken and hopefully a continuation lower to London lows. So looking at that trade now, price did end up going down and taking out that internal sell side, so I was able to have a partial there and continuing with the bearish bias. The next place that I wanted to take a partial was at equilibrium of this 1 hour for value gap, just for safety, as if we are going to bounce somewhere and there is a hint of bullish bias, it is going to be in here. And price did end up going down and tapping that equilibrium, and I was able to partial out there, and then the rest I ended up closing just a little bit after this point, as I was looking for a now bullish bias. So it's about right here after price reacted very strongly off equilibrium of that 1 hour, and had to keep in mind too that this 1 hour dealing range, this 1 hour for value gap, is in discount of that range. So then coming back into the 1 minute, price ran through this 1 minute SIBI, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, bearish for value gap, and then we started using it as support. So next I wanted to see some more movement up to kind of confirm this, and at this point I had gotten into another position. I had gotten in while this for value gap was being supported, and price ended up holding the fair value gap, moving up a little higher, and I was talking in chat today, and I said that if this 1 minute, this new 1 minute SIBI, bearish for value gap, got inversed, we would most likely go and run all of this low resistance liquidity. This low resistance liquidity was also another inclination that, hey, we are seeing some bullish or bearish PDRAs being violated, and now we do have a case for longs. And that PDRA was violated, and I entered again in there, and price ended up going up. We have a nice little market structure shift with plenty of displacement, as well as creating a new 1 minute bullish for value gap, busy, buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. And when this got tapped, I entered long again, and I wanted to see price roll up to this terminus. So at this point, I was in my position, and I wanted to check standard deviation, and looking at standard dev 2.5, giving us an estimation right above our buy side, so that gave me some extra confluence, and price did end up running to that buy side and then continue a little bit higher before selling back off. But most important part was the bias change and not being so heavily attached to my bias, and that there was a bearish entry and there also was a bullish entry. But another inclination for some bullishness was we have a singular 12-hour for value gap. And 12-hour isn't a time frame that a lot of people use, but it was the only one that was presenting a singular for value gap, and price was holding this and allowing it to move up and react off of. So that was a little extra confluence for bullishness. But overall, pretty solid day. Bias, being able to switch bias and not stay super convicted was definitely a big help in catching both sides of the market.